we have had some agencies that go, only want Belgian Malinois, 55 pounds, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And, during COVID, agencies couldn't come to see us. So I was getting a trailer and I'm driving out to different agencies, like all over the place, different states. And there was one agency out in Texas that goes, hey, only Malinois. I go, there's a Dutch Shepherd here. Nice dog.
It's close.
Very close. Right. And they go, we don't do Dutch Shepherds because we've had one. It didn't work out good. And I was like, well, that's one. This is breed racism right now.
How do you date? Never another blonde, right?
Yeah. No redheads.
Right, never. I can see that one.
Yeah. And I ended up bringing the Dutch Shepherd along with some Malinois, and they ended up taking it, because it was a good dog.
So I know Steve set us up to talk first, right? He's going to be jealous you're here. He always wants to come over. But I want to talk to you because you have a ton of experience and stuff that's intriguing for people. Your dad started what's called Adlerhorst Kennels, right? Yes. Or Adlerhorst K9.
Adlerhorst International.
International, okay.
So, LLC.
And it's pretty much known worldwide. You are the premier people for police dogs, military dogs, personal protection dogs, and everything.
Yeah, we're one of them.
Yeah. Okay. You're being modest.
Yeah. No, but there's especially in recent years, there's a lot of companies like ours, and they're out there. We're not the only one, but probably one of the first.
Yeah. Yeah. When did it start? Like in the 60s, right?
No, late 70s.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Maybe 75, 76.
Okay.
Yeah. Before me.
Oh, yeah. Before you, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your dad started it. Now you're pretty much, when did you start running it? When did that take over?
2000. I'm not good at dates.
Okay.
But everything seems like it was 1,000 years ago or yesterday.
Right.
2015.
Oh, so it's very recently.
Very recently.
Okay.
2016. Okay. Yeah. 2015 or 16.
2015 or 16. Yeah. And you, before that, I know you worked with your dad and stuff like that.
Yeah. And,
talk about
you're going to have him on here, I think.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to come over.
Good.
So
you bring him.
I'll just blow through it, his past real quick, but it's a very, very interesting story. He was in the military back in the 50s, 60s. Mm-hmm. I think more late 50s, but he was Army, then he was Air Force, a communications guy. But his passion in high school was wrestling, and then when we went to the military, I think he was stationed in Japan and Europe. He got into judo, and so that's all he did was doing judo for the military,
right.
Teaching and competing. And when he got stationed in Europe, in order to, it's another way of staying fit, he would go to these dog clubs that they have over there, and he would decoy, run around the woods in a bite suit. And he developed a passion for that, and got some dogs and started competing, and left the military out in March Air Force Base in California, stayed in California, became an electrical contractor, was successful at that. And then at the same time was doing Schützen, I think in Long Beach or in that area. And at the time, police departments, they weren't using necessarily imported dogs that had a foundation in the dog sports. Who knows where they're getting their dogs, but he was kind of challenged. Hey, do you think your sport dogs could do better than our, wherever they got them, backyard?
Right, yeah. Rescues.
Aggressive dogs,
right.
And so he called up old contacts from Europe, said, send me a Schützen 3 German Shepherd. Went to LAX, picked him up, spent a couple weeks training with the dog, spent another couple weeks training with the handler, and voila.
Wow, really?
And then it just kind of started there, and he had to make a decision, continue doing the electrical business, or do police dogs.
And that was in the 70s now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And it just went from there, and he decided to roll the dice and put all his chips into the dog training thing, and it worked out.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So when you work with him early? I know he talked to me a little bit. It was the first time I really talked to him because he was a good friend of mine who helped me in the shelters. We got to talk to Murrieta, and he talked to me a little bit about martial arts. I know he's into judo and stuff because I was into martial arts for years, so we had that click. And he told me that he used to take you and teach you judo when you were younger, right?
Yeah.
And so how did it transition from the judo thing into the dog thing? Like, when did you start handling dogs the first time?
I grew up at Adlerhorst.
Okay.
You know, that's it was a part of my daily life. And I could think back and growing up there, our house, you know, was on the kennel property, and there's always police cars out front. There's always people with sleeves and bite suits on running around. There's dogs all over the place. There's dogs in the kennel that we had in the backyard. There's dogs doing detection everywhere. And it didn't seem, I always wondered really kind of what does my family do? This doesn't make sense. You know, the other kids, their dads, their parents, they don't do this.
It's a normal life over there, right?
Yeah.
For neighbors, right?
And I was just, you know, you're telling me this is a business that you're doing? They're paying you to do all this stuff? And we had, you know, classes that were open to the public on the weekends. So, I mean, the parking lot's full of people with their private dogs. There was actually a Schützen club at the kennel that they were doing for a while. And there were puppies, and my dad would let me, you know, handle a puppy while he takes a gunny sack and, you know, waves it around, and the dog bites, and he'd say, okay, pet the dog. And it was everywhere. Summer vacations, you know, my formidable years. He would keep me gainfully employed, and, hey, you're going to take this dog out of the kennel, and you're going to be part of this detection class, you know, for the next however many weeks. And you're going to learn detection, you know. Hey, this summer you're going to take this dog and you're going to do the patrol class.
And how old were you at this point?
13, 14, 15, something like that.
So you're 13 or 14 now, and you're doing pretty much everything, right? You're handling the dog, you're training the dog. Are you taking bites at this point?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's when it starts. You go, okay, this is a trade. There's skills that you have to develop to do this well,
right?
You know, and so you're handling dogs, and you're learning finesse, you're getting a lot of leash time, and you're getting a lot of time in the suit, and when you're young, and that's fun. Yeah, you know, you're running away from dogs, and they're chasing coming up and biting you. Yeah. It's a good time. Yeah, you know.
But this was the beginning, really. Schützen, do you know? But I mean, I don't know that much about this. I love the sport, but wasn't it like in the '60s when it first really took legs here in the States?
I think so. I know there were dogs being imported to the United States in the '60s. Yeah. I mean, there were people that came from Europe,
right,
and they immigrated to the States, and they brought along their sport, their passion, and so there were dogs, and there was breeding going on back then, whether it was the '60s or early '70s, whatever, before Adlerhorst,
right.
But as far as popularity, it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
No.
And so the police dogs back then, because we talked about that briefly, like when you look at dogs in the early days of police work, there was nothing, right? These were dogs that were just like, aggressive dogs, and they would put them on a leash and they could just go bite people. And now the idea that, I mean, and I think your dad was probably one of the first people, and Adlerhorst continues that tradition, of having a specifically trained dog, a dog that is controllable, workable, and malleable in that situation. Was a different concept at that point, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I think, definitely the way they used them, and Mike Gooseby said something yesterday, on the West Coast of the United States, things sort of shifted in the way they use police dogs. They had dogs, on the East Coast or all over that could track. There was a lot of tracking dogs, the bloodhounds and all that. But as far as a dog being used to go into a dangerous area or, a dark and gloomy area where there could be a potentially dangerous suspect hiding, which is, the most dangerous one to look for.
Sure.
Using a dog to go out there, use its nose and find them, I think that was relatively new. Maybe before, they utilized the dog's nose to go find people at the end of a 6-foot leash.
Sure.
You know, or longer.
10-foot leash, whatever, yeah.
But that's still pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, using the dogs to provide distance and distraction was maybe kind of a newer concept. Or using the dog to, away from the handler, go somewhere, use its nose, find them, locate them.
Mm-hmm.
The dog can't get to them, but the dog can alert.
Right.
Bark
and hold.
You know, and stay there while the handlers and his backup officers carefully make their way to the dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Those are things that smart people saw from the different disciplines in Europe, the sports, and said, hey, that capability right there, we could use that, you know, for police dogs here in the States.
Yeah, make life better.
Right.
So when you were seeing this transition from like 13, 14, 15, that's when you're thinking, am I going to do this for a living? Did you start thinking like this might be my future?
And that's the thing. I looked at it like, this is a fun thing that people are doing, but, you know, is this going to be a job? It's, you look at your parents and you evaluate, you know, subconsciously maybe, you know, how they're doing, and they're always happy. My parents, they were having fun. My dad was having fun doing what he's doing, you know, most of the time.
Yeah.
And I can see that, you know, that's something that, you know, you always want to be the firefighter or the fighter jet pilot,
policeman or whatever. Right.
And I'm sure there are kids that go, wow, police dog trainer.
Right.
You know, but it was so every day. It wasn't a
Special.
novel thing,
right?
You know, it was pretty. This is what people do.
Yeah.
But as far as, you know, being a younger kid, it wasn't my idea to be a dog trainer.
Oh, it wasn't.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, what did you think you would do?
Who knows?
You didn't have any idea.
Who knows? I wasn't the model student.
Okay.
So when I graduated high school, the military was probably the best thing for me to do at that time. So I joined the Army, and I remember, you know, on the weekends, my job was clean up dog poop and feed dogs, you know, clean the kennels. And, you know, you got 30 dogs back there. It's a lot of your day.
Yeah.
And I remember, the recruiter taking me LAX or something for me to ship out, join the Army. We drove by the kennels.
Okay.
And I just remember looking like, I'm not picking up poop this weekend. You know,
done.
Unbeknownst to me, you know, the Army had
what did you do in the
other
Army?
Things for me to do. When
you went into the Army, were you in any special division or anything?
No, I was in
just enlisted.
Yeah, enlisted infantryman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was in the 80s, 90s.
1997.
Okay, 97.
Yeah.
How old are you?
44.
Okay, so you're younger than me. Okay.
Yeah. But I went to the Army, and I think it was 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was fun. But when I got out, you know, and I ended up being stationed in Europe.
Okay.
And I would see my dad, you know, come over on his buy trips to go look for dogs, and you know, he'd scoop me up and we go, you know, drive around Germany for a little bit. Then he'd drop me back off base, or on base. But when I got out, I started working at Adlerhorst, and the first thing I did there was we had a new explosive K9 detection program. So he goes, hey, go learn everything you can about detection, explosive detection, whatever. Okay, cool. You know, doing that, and done with all that. Did a few classes. Mike Herstick, you know him?
I don't know.
He was running those classes at that time. Very smart person, very smart dog guy, and stole as much as I can from him.
Always
and
smart.
Then what's that?
That's always smart.
Yeah.
Get what you get. Yeah.
After that, I would pal around with the basic patrol class and, you know, decoy for them, help them out as much as I can. And I remember there was one day I was with Doug Kelly and C.R. Smith, who were running the patrol class, and it was nice weather. You know, we're having fun, we're laughing, and we're doing dog training. And I go, this is the best job in the whole world.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I have an idea now that I'm a little bit older, what I don't want to do.
Right.
I entertained the idea of maybe becoming a police officer, and while I was working at Adlerhorst, but just that day I went, if you're able to do this your whole life, you kind of got something figured out.
Yeah.
You know, this makes sense. And I'm also doing the buy trips with my dad to Europe, you know, and it's you're learning you're learning something new every day.
Yeah.
That you're working there or you're going to Europe.
And experiencing something different too. Each dog is a different experience, right?
They're their own personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're seeing all that, and you're watching other people work their dogs, and you're working a dog, and you're going, you know, this is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fun, and you're working with great people most of the time. So I go, yeah, this is what I want to do.
And that's when you made the decision.
Yeah. And at the time I was thinking about being a police officer. I went on a couple ride-alongs with an agency as part of the hiring process. And it was just maybe those guys. It was that day. Both times I go, hey, I get the gist of it. You can take me back to the department. And like, I get it. You know, I'd drive back home and go, I'm probably not going to do that. Just because, I mean, it's a great job, but just the things I was doing at Adlerhorst just appealed to me more.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun.
It's all fun, right? Police dog is like fun part of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally understand why they do it, you know, but it's, to me, it looked more, you know, this is more of a job. Yeah. When I'm doing the dog training, it's not all fun.
Of course.
You know, it's your job.
Right.
But it's something that I go, hey, I could do this for the rest of my life.
Sure.
You know.
And how old were you then when you decided that?
24, 25.
Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, that's tough to make that decision at that. Looking at yourself now you're 44. I mean, I'm 58. Like at 24, like that's a big step, a big commitment to make.
Oh yeah.
But I look at certain things like I wish I would have been training dogs in my 20s. I wish I would have done, because I love working with dogs, and the idea of like it doesn't really get old.
No,
right?
No, it's something new every day. Every time I'm doing a patrol class, you think you know the dogs. You don't. You know, they really are. Challenges are fun.
Yeah,
I think trying to figure out, how do I get the dog to understand this? You know, that's every day in the class. You know, dogs progress, hopefully. You know. But there's always these little mental speed bumps that you have to kind of get them over.
Yeah. And
having history with other dogs, experiences, those help. But you got to, you know, get the creative juices flowing and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fun doing that.
Is it I'd say 90+% of what you do is all police and military.
Yeah.
But when you're teaching the police stuff, now I know back many years ago, Shannon Krieger recruited you and spoke so highly of you to come stand up the program at Fort Bragg.
Yeah, I didn't stand up anything there.
Well, you were part of it.
Yeah, and a small part.
Okay.
But it was interesting. It's actually when I first met Steve. We're doing our daily thing, and I get a message. I forget what year it was, 2007 or 8. And someone from the Army would like to come on Saturday to look at dogs. And I remember that's pretty much it. So I'm thinking somebody at Fort Irwin that's stationed there wants a private dog.
Right.
Yeah, no problem. And so I'm up in the office. It's Saturday. And they have my cell phone number. And I got a text message, hey, kind of lost. Something, you know, we're near Stater Brothers, whatever. Hey, stay there. I'll come get you. So I drive out there, and there's like a Tahoe. There are people in there. Okay, come over, go to the parking lot, and they get out, and I'm like, okay, these cats aren't. They're not from Fort Irwin,
right?
You know, it was Shannon, Steve, and somebody else.
Okay.
But all right, come on up to the office, and my dad met us up there, and then they go into their spiel, kind of where they're from and what they're looking for. And I already told Steve we talked about this, but Steve, you know, he's wearing this Dye Florida T-shirt.
Okay.
And I kind of have an idea of what they do where they're from.
Okay.
And I'm looking at Steve, and he's wearing this scuba diving T-shirt, and I go, man, he's probably like one of those guys that
Right.
jumps out of an airplane, lands in the ocean,
Yep.
swims 15 miles, and then, you know, he comes out of the water with his little scuba mask,
Yeah.
rifle on his shoulder, scanning the beaches.
Right.
And then
Right.
a couple of years later, we're talking, and I told him that story. He's like, no, I got that. Like, I borrowed it from my buddy. I just needed a shirt, and I borrowed it.
Right.
But so yeah, we developed a relationship with those guys, and 2008, 2007, it's the global war on terror is going on. So just out of patriotism, they say they'd like to go ahead and, you know, look at dogs and test dogs, and maybe buy them. So, hey, come to Europe with us, you know, and we have officers that, you know, they get approval to come to Europe sometimes, once in a blue moon. But you don't bring a bunch of people to Europe with you, you know, and back then, everyone's worried about giving up their contacts that
Sure.
they have in Europe. And now, I mean, everyone's on the internet and everyone's known, so you can't hide it.
Right, yeah.
But back then it was like, hey, come to Europe with us, follow us around Europe. We're testing dogs. We'll pick dogs. And then at the end of the trip, whatever dogs you want, take them back to the East Coast with you. You know, you can buy them from us. You get first pick.
Okay.
You know, it's the least we could do. So they started coming out, and I think a year later, Steve got it to where I could go to their place back east and help out with a 4-month basic handler class for their guys. And I was, yeah, I'd love to do that. That's awesome. So I did that. It's very eye-opening. That place at that time, I've never seen anything like it, what they were doing with dogs. You know, it was pretty amazing. Very brazen.
Like what? Like what was?
Just the way they deployed them.
The way that.
Yeah, it was very unique.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to have, you know, seen that. So by that time, Adlerhorst had developed relationships with other organizations within Department of Defense, you know, both the United States, Canada, you know, Europe, and those type of units were all getting dogs, you know, much like the organization that Steve worked at. And when I got back from North Carolina, those units, they weren't completely staffed with dog trainers yet,
Right.
but they wanted to get their programs moving. While I was there in North Carolina, I met a former handler that had gotten out of the military, and he was working for a company back east that was doing R&D for the military, a bunch of, you know, different directions. And that's actually, I was working for that company. They held my contract for that 4-month gig over there. And so Kelly Roby, he was the one facilitating that. But we were talking, and we go, hey, when I get back to California, there's all these other units that they want the capability. They don't have a full trainer staff. We could set up something, you know, in California where him and I do the training, a basic handler course for these other units. And yeah, it'd be fun. So that's what we did. I think we had 3 or 4 classes where we did a teaming agreement with Adlerhorst and his company, and we had like 7 or 8 week basic handler courses with these handlers from various units, you know, the United States, Canada, and eventually Germany.
Right.
They started getting that capability for their special operation forces, and they would come out to California, and we'd do 7-8 week basic handler courses that were just modified from the police courses. We do go up to Arrowhead,
Right.
walk around, big long patrols or whatever, and then do an area search or do something in a house, and it was fun. Yeah.
How long were you in North Carolina?
5 years, five and some change. But that came after the 4-month thing.
Right.
I think Shannon said something, is this something you'd like to do?
Yeah.
Full time? And I was just like, nah, I can't,
You want to go back home, go to work.
I have a, commitment at Adlerhorst, and I think we just had Sophia, our first,
Okay.
So we had Veronique and I, we had a 1-year-old daughter, and we're established. Boom, we're there. And, but a couple years later, I'm at a Bart Bellin seminar in Kentucky. And I got a phone call from the current program manager, and he asked if I'd like to work there full time.
At
Work,
unit.
yeah. And I said, well, yeah, let me call my wife, Veronique, and ask her. And, I called her up, and I go, guess what? They asked if I want to work there full time. And
didn't he convince you? Shannon said something like, because your wife is from Holland, right?
she was born in Germany, and then they moved directly to Holland because her dad's Dutch, her mom's German.
Okay.
So she spent 15 years
In Holland.
living in Holland.
Right.
And then her parents got separated. She moved back to Germany with her mom at 15 years old.
Oh.
And had to learn German.
Oh, right. But I think Shannon said something like he was able to convince you because North Carolina, it was closer. Oh, because it was colder and it would remind her of being in Europe or something.
Maybe she's a California girl now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that's why he convinced you or something. He said something about he had some secret MO to get you to go over there for a few years. I didn't know if he ever told you that.
It was a while ago, so maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she started looking at the cost of living over there.
Right.
And she's like,
yeah,
like that'd be awesome. Look at this house I found on, boom, boom, boom. So yeah, I talked to my dad, and hey, let me do this for a few years, pick some stuff up.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, great. So yeah, we did that. For 5 years. And,
it had to be an amazing experience though, right? I mean,
yeah.
With that program, and that was the first time really that dogs in the military were used in this different way, as opposed to just being patrol dogs from what Shannon said.
It still is to this day very innovative.
Yeah,
what they were doing, and I was lucky to be a part of that. But as far as standing up now, I mean, I was just
Well, you were a big part of it. I mean,
I was a part.
Well,
that's it.
Okay.
And they have very talented people over there that thought of stuff way before I ever got there. And I just piggybacked on it and helped out where I could, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, eventually I got a call from Dad, and he's like, hey, you going to come back? And I think I talked maybe do it for like 3 years or something, but it was a good time. And I go, hey, yeah, you want me to come back? I'm coming back.
Ready.
And so we packed up, came back to California. And I think maybe a few months after that, I started doing more detection, taking kind of what I learned in North Carolina, some ideas that I got, and kind of changed things up on the detection side of the house. And shortly thereafter, I ended up doing the basic handler class, and we changed a few things, or added things. And it's had a great time in North Carolina, great experience. You do deployments, and it's an amazing experience. But coming back and doing this in the patrol class and everything, it's a I'm a lucky person.
Yeah, you are.
You know, it's and then doing the European trips, you know, sometimes could be a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
But
so you're saying your buy trips, when you go to Europe to buy dogs. So that's one thing you do several times a year.
Yeah. And so the schedule's pretty much, I'll go to Europe for 12, 13, 14 days and start the trip off Los Angeles, fly over to Budapest, land in Budapest, and then one of my the contacts buddies, Lotzi Stein, he'll come from Slovakia, pick me up, and then we'll drive a couple hours to Slovakia where he lives, and he has his dogs. Test some dogs there. I'll use his van, and I'll load those dogs up, and then I'll drive from Slovakia to Germany, go see Thomas Haas, test dogs there, and with Thomas we may go a couple other people spread throughout, and then usually whatever dogs I get there, maybe I'll leave some there for someone to pick up later to ship them, whatever. But from there, it's going to the Netherlands and testing more dogs, and I may dip back into Germany eventually. But
so when you're testing these dogs, you're looking for premier dogs for police work. They're it's a unique kind of dog, right?
Yeah, and it's you're looking for a whole bunch of characteristics.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's so important, because everybody says, it's like they see a dog likes to jump, they go, oh, that dog can do agility. Or, my dog likes to sit, he can do obedience. Oh, my dog likes to bite, he'd be a good police dog.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time. Oh, this dog's in the shelter. When I used to work in the shelters, oh, this dog is really mean, he really likes to bite, he'd be a good police dog. And I think he'd be a really bad police dog, right? So let's talk about for a second, like there's a lot that goes into your knowledge base is pretty deep. What are these things that you look for that this dog is going to be a police dog? This dog, he's trustworthy, he's biddable, he's workable. Like, what are you looking at? Because you're looking at a lot of dogs. You've got to do this pretty quick.
Yeah, you're looking for a dog that can meet the community standard of whatever law enforcement agency. We get handlers that sometimes have zero dog experience.
Wow.
Which makes sense.
Sure.
They signed up to be police officers, and there are some that, hey, ever since they were a little kid, they wanted to be a dog handler, so maybe that comes with more experience, in other places. But we get guys that they're police officers or they're deputies, and they want to do the canine thing. So they need to learn it, all right? When I go over, I'm looking for a dog that's clear-headed.
Okay. That's your number one thing you're looking for, is a clear-headed dog.
It's one of the things. There's never any like number one thing, I don't think, because you need a mixture of everything, and the dog has to be user-friendly to a point. You want a dog that enjoys looking for things, most of our dogs are going to be detection dogs as well as patrol dogs. They're going to be dual purpose
dogs.
They like looking for a toy. They'll spend some time, considerable amount of time doing it. But when they bring it back, can you give it? Can I ask
can
you?
I get it?
Can I get it from you? Are you too possessive? And I like to, when you're testing a dog, you're thinking about that new handler that doesn't know anything about a dog, but he's going to be handling him pretty quick. I don't want handlers to get hurt. Right. I don't want them getting bit. It happens.
Sure.
But I'm going to try to do everything I can to make sure that it doesn't happen. But it's going to happen.
Sure.
Sorry. Right. And then as far as the apprehension work, you're looking for a dog that enjoys fighting.
It's a game.
A human being.
Right.
And that's exactly it. They enjoy the game of fighting. We don't want police dogs that go looking for people to bite with malice. That's dangerous.
Yep.
That's a dog that's maybe using a little too much defense. And that's very, very dangerous. Dangerous for everyone.
Sure.
A healthy dog, a healthy police dog, they look for someone and they go, I'm looking for a human being and we're going to spar. we're going to have a wrestling match. We got gloves on and this is going to be fun. I think if there was conceptually, hello suspect or hello decoy, let's bump gloves. All right, let's get it on.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it,
we're cool.
Dog's going to win.
Mm-hmm. Always, yeah.
Because they always win.
Right, for sure.
But hey, good fight.
Yeah. I want to talk about that for a second because what you said there's really important. And I talked about this with Stoops, Shannon, your dad, every person that I've respected in dog things. You say the dog's going to win. And I think it's a really important piece for people to really understand in the development of the dog, in the overall picture of the dog. Tell me what that means to you, because I want to hear it from your side. When the dog must win.
Yeah, we understand when we do an endeavor, anything, there's a chance that we might not come out on top.
Right.
We might not win. We might be unsuccessful. You're giving the dog a lot of credit thinking that they understand that and that they'll continue to do whatever endeavor it is afterwards. Decoying, put it on a bite suit, however it is. People go, oh, the other Saturday, I did the decoying over there and they're like, oh, 37 dogs, were you okay? Were you sore the next day? Were you tired? No, because I just have to lose. If I had to try to defeat the dog
every time,
yeah,
you'd be tired after 2 dogs.
I'd be pretty tired.
Yeah.
When your whole job is just to lose, to be the loser.
Yeah.
I can do that all day and anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dog needs to understand or to think that when it goes in there, there's a very strong possibility that they'll come out on top every time. It doesn't mean that you don't provide resistance as a role-playing suspect, decoy, whatever. There's no free bites. There shouldn't be any free bites. The dog should always have to do something, overcome something, whatever, before they get the bite. But if it was, and I've heard in the past, I've seen decoys that go, I could run any dog off the field, and it's like,
is that your goal?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never try to run a dog off the field.
Yeah. It's ego.
I test dogs and some dogs, the test might knock them off balance overseas in Europe. They might have a hard time. It doesn't make sense to them. And they go, I don't want any part of this.
Sure.
And sometimes a handler would be like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, no, let's take the time to go ahead and make them come out on top on this one.
Right.
It's a teachable moment. Not going to buy them.
Yeah. Right. But you can at least help them.
But I could, yeah, we're not done.
Yeah. Do you think that's also an issue of maturity in a dog? Like a really younger dog is going to have a harder time with that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I have to adjust the way I test the dog depending on, the dog's experience up to that point.
Yeah.
And age has a lot to play into
it.
But, you got to know you got to talk about the dog a little bit. And if I've never dealt with a handler before overseas or a vendor, this is what I'm going to do. Are you okay with that? Oh, yeah,
you're gonna tell them.
I'm gonna brief them on this is what I'm gonna do as far as the test, and I'm decoying the dogs. Right. I'm taking the bites from them.
So you're actually taking the bites on the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. You're not just handling the dog.
No, because you want to see. I'm not gonna test dogs where there's somebody handling the dog, and then they brought a decoy that's gonna take the bites, and I'm just gonna write in my notebook you can't really see that much.
Understood. I see what I mean.
So, and this is, something I got from my dad to better understand the dog, throw on your sleeve or your bite suit and go either in the woods or in the building, wherever, and test the dog.
So that's one of the components you do is like to see the dog's, let's say, bravery or courage, stuff like that, right?
Maybe just how bad do they want to have a good time? And it might sound like when a dog thinks that looking for someone and biting them is fun to the dog, that could sound wrong somehow. But if I don't think a dog goes into a search going, this person that I'm looking for is a threat
Right.
to the city of whatever, or the citizens, or my handler. If a dog goes into a search worried that this is a violent felon, a dog will just go, I'm not going. Doesn't make sense.
For sure.
This is dangerous. That's not fun.
So these dogs go into the building, they go in there, whatever. So they're going in as a game.
Right.
Per se, right?
Right.
So in essence, I'm going to jump and say, if that dog thought that guy's going to kill me, they might not go into that building.
If they can understand that person had a weapon,
right,
that could end it all.
Sure.
Most dogs would go, no, that doesn't make sense.
Of course.
I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, you're teaching the dog that this is going to be fun. This is a game. This is, you do this. You get to bite. You get to play with this guy.
Right.
And by teaching that, and I think this is a really important component, because one of the things I'm tackling a lot in the media right now is this idea of positive only dog training. Right? People never want stress, and I think it's a dangerous thing for society. Right? Whether it's kids, you have children. I taught karate for years to kids. Whether it's dogs or anything, this component that there has to be struggle for growth is important. And I think this is one of the great things that we have with these working dogs. This is one of the greatest gifts we give these dogs, is this ability to struggle, to overcome, and to win.
Right.
And, you're doing that a lot with these dogs. So when people say, oh, well, police dogs is such a mean thing, these dogs are put in danger. Well, your dog's in danger when you walk him on a leash down the street. He could sniff rat poisoning. He could, get hit by a car. There's an immense danger. And I don't think police dogs are really in more danger when you weigh the idea of how much fun they're having.
Right.
It's a really fun job for them.
I feel bad for a retired police dog.
Right.
Everyone goes, oh, now you get to spend the life on the couch.
Yeah, that sucks.
You talk to the handlers and they're like, yeah, the Rex, he's whining every time I get in the patrol car and he sees the new dog, getting in. Like I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
A police dog has a great life.
Awesome.
They train daily. They go out and they're in the back of the unit. They're not searching every day for suspects. The handler's doing hip pocket training, article search here, some detection there, building search for a decoy in the evening, whatever. But it's a great life. They're always out there. They're always with their handler, and they're always out doing things in their community.
Yeah.
As far as the training, and I don't want to anthropomorphize, but how do we learn? When I learn something, say in the Army, they go, this is how you do this.
Right.
And they show me. And then they go, you try it. Okay. At slow pace, whatever. I put that in there. Boom, 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 boom. Sweet, whatever.
Right.
And the standard? Yeah. All right. I got to do it tomorrow.
Right.
I do it wrong.
Yep.
What am I doing? I'm doing some push-ups. There's consequence, and it's, they're not trying to belittle me, but they're instilling something into me, and they're adding stress to it. That's going to make me want to learn it pretty quick. It's going to solidify the instruction I got before.
Yeah.
And it's with the dogs, if everything is, operant all the way around, and there's nothing that says, hey, here's the standard, I'm going to hold you to it, and reinforce it with a little bit of compulsion. Well, just like you said, the dog gets away from the handler out on the streets, not coming back to him, boom, hit by a car. And so it's there needs to be a little bit of that. Hey, you are going to do this for your own good,
Right.
so we can continue to have this great time.
Yeah. So you've handled thousands of dogs, right? I mean, I've handled a lot. You've handled a lot of dogs. Would you say, and this is not getting away from police work, but you're getting to the basic mindset of a dog. You work out, right? I work out. You're stressing your body, right? You want to do judo, jiu-jitsu, you want to do anything. You're stressing your body and your mind now, right? I don't anthropomorphize dogs. I don't do it. I know what people do wrong. I don't think we were talking about it in that way, but don't you think that a dog really grows, really prospers, just like human beings do, or any animal does, by overcoming adversity and stress and coming out the other end and having learned and succeeded? And even if there's not a reward, a tug or a treat or a bite, but that idea of I did it, like now they're saying, okay, now they've accomplished something. Do you see that in the dogs you work with? Because you work with a lot of dogs.
Yeah. And when we start a basic handler class, and this is like the long-winded version.
That's good.
But, these are all dogs. Most of them have a pretty strong foundation in obedience, agility, some tracking maybe, and bite work. Mm-hmm. But they're here in California for the basic police dog patrol class. The first 2 weeks, we're doing very simple things because you're taking a dog that's had a handler, it's been in a little bit of a transit period, and now it has Officer so-and-so, who's the new handler. There's no real bond yet.
Sure.
And we're not going to spend days with our clickers, giving them treats, trying to build the relationship. I think these dogs, they like to have fun. They want to do fun stuff, And so when we started, it's hey, we're going to go and we're going to put on a harness, stake out to a pole, and we're just going to do bite work, and a lot of the dogs that get out there and they're a little worried. They're like, I don't know the standards of this new handler. Should I verbal out, immediately? If the decoy stands still, do you want me to verbal out? I think my old handler wanted me to verbal out. There's a honeymoon process, there's a getting to know each other process. And I think these dogs come with pretty stringent left and right limits, and they're afraid to make a mistake, but those first 2 weeks is we got to widen those left and rights and go, hey, we like to have a good time here.
So you're giving them permission to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make mistakes. And by doing that, and it's not really, I'm not allowing you to make mistakes. If they make mistakes, they make mistakes.
Sure.
But I'm letting them know that the decoy's a little bit different over here. They may be used to a certain style. We're doing bite work that first week at Adlerhorst, and the decoy falls down. It happens. Boom. You're on the ground. It's great.
Right.
Sometimes the dog will let go and go, oh,
right.
Never done that before. You're supposed to stand up, stay on your feet, whatever. We got to let the dogs know, like, hey, we're purposely going to go down to the ground.
Different picture for the dog, right?
We got to change. We got to paint pictures for those dogs. And I'm not going to ask them to do anything wazoo control-wise those first couple weeks. Just let them have fun, And a good dog likes to do bite work. They think that's fun.
For sure.
And then as the class goes on, we kind of bring those left and right limits back in to prepare for a certification at the end.
How long is that class? It's a 2-week class?
6.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Wow. That's a lot of training.
Yeah. It's Monday through Friday. And
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
I mean, not that each dog is out for 8 hours, but there's 8 hours of work.
It depends on the size of the class, but yeah, it's around 8 hours. And I mean, a lot of it, sometimes we're doing it at night, and we're going off site to other locations all the time just to get dogs to different environments. Second week, started the second week. I think we're kicking it off at LAX, and then we're going all over, just trying to expose the dogs to different environments.
How many people in that class?
We just graduated one yesterday, 9 handlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very personalized.
Yeah.
It's very personalized. So I want to go back to the thing in Europe. When you're getting these dogs early on, a little bit about them. They come usually from a sport background.
Right.
So Schutzen, IGP, whatever it is, KMPV, ring sports, anything like that. What is it that you're looking for? Because those dogs probably have never been off of equipment, right?
No, yeah, they've never been off anything. So when I test the dog, I want to know how he does things that he already knows. How you have your basic skills. How good are you at those?
Okay.
I just want to know how good you are at doing stuff that you already know how to do, as far as the apprehension work. if I was to go, I think it'd be unfair to say, hey, I'm going to take the dog away from the handler and maybe I bring my own decoy and I'm going to do things that the dog has no idea about.
Okay.
It's to surprise a dog with something that you wanted to do that it doesn't know how to do it already, I think is unfair. You're not seeing anything, in my opinion.
Sure. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, there's people that, you know, differ on that. They want to know what the dog's going to do in an environment that it's never been exposed to before. And I understand that.
Of course.
But I just want to keep my relationship with people over in Europe. I'm not going to do anything
stupid,
unfair, whatever. Right? Yeah, unfair to the dog.
Sure.
And if I'm doing something like, hey, here's something that you know how to do already. I'm a different person. I could do little changes to kind of see, you know, what the dog thinks of that situation.
Yeah, right.
You know, and even if the dog has a difficult time doing it, you go, okay, let's do it again. Let's see how quick he recovers. Right. You know, because remember, when I'm decoying, I'm the loser. So even when the dog has an issue and we finally get to, you know, the dog engaging me, I'm losing. Handler comes in, good boy.
Right.
Takes him off. And let's do it again and see how quick that dog recovers. He might be able to be a good police dog.
Yep.
You know, there's a chance. But anything, I'm not testing them as if they're police dogs.
Right. I got you.
I'm just looking for a good dog, a good working dog. When we get to California, we're going to go ahead and do the things to train you to be a law enforcement canine, you know? And we're just gonna go ahead and build on what you know already. And our job is to continue to make it fun, you know. And the little bit of stress we go in there, if it's a good dog, it overcomes it. All right. But I mean, there's times in a basic class you have, you know, 10 handlers. Sometimes 2 of those dogs are going back in the kennel. Almost every class.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have 10 handlers, 10 dogs. 1 or 2 of those handlers might go back to the department.
Right.
You know,
because they're not cut out for the job.
Yeah. Yeah. And dog handling is not for everyone.
Right.
At all. With you. Could be the best, you know, police officer, deputy in the whole wide world, but you give them a dog and it's a little task saturated.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they decide like, hey, there's a lot of run around in a bite suit in this class. I don't want to do this anymore. All right. Yeah, makes sense to me, but probably the best police officer in the whole world.
Sure.
You know? So I think this last class started off with 10, maybe 11. But people got hurt, whatever, and we'll see them again in March, you know, but it's rare when you have a class of, you know, how many ever officers or deputies that everybody finishes with the same dog, you know?
So you'll often switch out dogs too, right?
Yeah. If we have dogs available in the kennel, but most of the time it's like, hey,
they already got their
we'll see you next class.
Okay. So you don't have the ability often to just say, okay, let's try you with this dog or that dog.
It happens sometimes, but if I don't have, you know, I may have dogs in the kennel, but maybe they're not all police dogs. Maybe those dogs are more cut out for the personal protection.
Got it.
You know, and I'm not gonna, until that handler and that department, they go, we tested 3, 4, 5 dogs. We want this one, you know? And if a dog's having a hard time in the basic and I got to cut him, I could go, well, there's this one that I really, really like, you know, take him.
Right. Because you think he's going to fit with that cop.
It might work, but I want the department to come out and test a few.
Okay.
And make it their own.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone gets a buy-in. But the big point is I may think it's the best dog in the whole world. The department tests them when I get back and they go, yeah, this is a nice dog. But then week 3, week 4, if the floor is too shiny, that dog is not going on it. You know, and you could do everything you want to try to figure it out. Blank gunfire. Yeah. They don't like it. You know, the dog doesn't like the idea of chasing someone with a muzzle on that's not wearing protective equipment. You know, that happens.
Sure.
It could be anything. But yeah, you go back to Europe, you get some more dogs.
Yeah.
Probably do the same thing over again.
It's going to sound like a really weird question, but do you ever get, or have you ever like went and tested and just got really attached to one dog? Like, I want that dog for me.
Usually,
Early on, maybe.
Usually they come back, and it's, to me, for me to keep a dog myself, that seems kind of like well, yeah, it's not a good business idea, but it's almost like a disservice to the dog.
Sure.
Why should the dog live with Mike Reaver at Adlerhorst?
Yeah.
You know, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
Great dog. But I mean, I got one dog right now. I love him.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah. He's my buddy.
Yeah.
His life would be better if he was with a handler at an agency, just like we were talking about, training every day, going out in the world, right around the back of the car, doing things, you know. And so for a dog to just be my dog, it's going to be more fun with a police officer.
I mean, I went through it when I was in the shelter testing shelter dogs and stuff, but yeah, and I had to click a switch. Like, I can't board and train dogs. Like, to me, that's the worst. Like, I board and trained one dog. It's the one laying over there. It's Maya. You know, she never left. So to me, I just have to turn that switch. Okay, I'm here to test dogs. I'm going to do this and this and this. And once in a while, you'll see one. You'll be like, oh man, it's a really nice dog. But you know what's best for the dog. Right. You know where that dog deserves to be. Yeah. So, but do the handlers ever get upset? Like, they're really attached to a dog? I would think that would happen, right?
If a handler, yeah. And I feel bad for him.
Yeah. And then you got to say, hey, this is not the dog for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, is there anything we can do to make this dog? Right. We got 6 weeks. Right. No. I mean, I need the dog to figure it out. Right. You know,
but sometimes they don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, these guys, these handlers, they go into that job and they like dogs, but they know the capability that dog provides their agency, and ultimately the safety they provide the handler. So you could love a dog all day long, and you could want to make it work. And there was one agency, it was a smaller city, and it was a German Shepherd, and the handler loved the dog, but we're like week 2, week 3, and I go, hey, I bought him. I mean, I tested him, I bought him, and I sold him to you, but this is not a police dog. I'm sorry. Like, we got to get you another dog. And it was a weird series of events, but he ended up telling his supervisors, they called me, and the chief called me, and he goes, hey, we really like this dog. Well, they've known the dog for all of 2.5 weeks. So I go, yeah, I know. I thought he was a great dog too. Still is. You know, he's going to go on somewhere, but just not to a police department. Right. This is not the dog we want. Well, we did a press release. We had, this elementary school. Right. They voted on a name, and like this has got to be the dog. And I go, no, I'm not. I don't even want to continue on. It's a waste of everyone's time.
You're saying this. Right?
Yeah. And the dog, its ability to transition from equipment to no equipment, it's just not working out. The dog doesn't think it's fun. Right. And it was stressing the dog out. So he goes, well, listen, the dog's going to do, some detection eventually. He's going to do a lot of, dog and pony shows. Right. Go to the,
elementary school.
Yeah. Elementary schools, do demos. Right. And he's like, about, 3% of what this dog's going to do is apprehension stuff, and, I go, hey, I'm not a cop. I'm not, right. This is your world. Yeah. But that 3% every single time is 150% dangerous. Yeah, right. For that handler, for everyone. Yeah. It's the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like yeah. And they eventually agreed, and I got him another dog, and it was slightly different shade German Shepherd.
But they looked alike.
No.
Oh, they did.
It just looked, it was a German Shepherd, but it looked different. And they go,
they didn't like it.
we were going to name him the same name at the elementary school, but this is a totally different, from the, and I was like, hey, you gotta maybe just, talk to the kids and be like, hey, it didn't work out with,
It didn't work out.
Give them a hard life lesson that early on.
Yeah, but it's important,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of admire what you're saying, that your number one goal in this picture is the best interest of the dog first.
The best interest of the dog, meaning?
In other words, you're saying that the dog has to be right for, in other words, you're not putting a square peg in a round hole.
Try not to.
Yeah.
The main thing we have to look out for is the safety of the agency.
Right.
And with that comes the safety of the dog and everything that encompasses that dog working. But if we're worried about the dog or the handler, it all actually comes together,
right?
But the main thing is this going to be a dog that the handler can use,
right,
effectively? But
it starts with the dog,
right?
Because I think a lot of times, and this is a misconception that I've fought so hard to get away from. In the sports, I think you got to like the dog more than the sport, and in here, you've got to like the dog more than the ego of whatever, or because it pivots around the dog. If the dog's not right, you go, well, they really want the dog. Let's just try, like you said, that 3% is 150% dangerous, or deadly, right? And it's deadly for the dog, it's deadly for the community, and it's deadly for the officer.
Yeah.
So you've got a really important role to play where you're saying, I'm sorry, it's just not going to work. And it's good that they have to listen to you and go down the line and say, okay, that's what you do.
Yeah, and I've said it a couple of times. Like, they don't pay us to certify them; they pay us to train them.
Right.
And if it doesn't look right, whether it's the dog side, the handler side, the Adlerhorst's side, we have to cut away. We have to try it again.
Yeah. So one of your big important things is to make sure the right officer gets the right dog. When you're testing these dogs in Europe, let's just get back into that for a second, if you can. Like, how long does it take you with the dog? Like, just a couple quick things that you're going to look at, and you have a feeling, probably a gut feeling on the dog that you want to get. Tell me that process, and like, how many dogs do you get on a trip, and just a little bit more of that information. So fascinating.
And it will all start with the agencies calling Adlerhorst and saying, hey, put us on the list. We need a dog.
Okay.
1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs, 4 dogs, 5 dogs, whatever, how many the agency needs. And boom. So when I leave for Europe, I have a list of the agencies and how many dogs they're looking for. And there's little side sections that say, we want a Belgian Malinois,
okay,
a male or a female, or a German Shepherd with tracking, just an idea of what their specifics, what they're looking for.
And that's before you go. So as you're heading over, you kind of have an idea, I need to get 30 dogs, 50 dogs, or whatever.
And there's agencies that, have been coming to us for a very long time. So I kind of have an idea of what they're looking for already. And when I go over there, people are going to show me what they have.
And you're getting the cream of the crop when you go.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you've got a great reputation. You've been doing it for a long time.
I'm lucky. The infrastructure was set. I walked right into it.
Sure.
And our reputation in Europe is pretty good. So I'm going to see people that we've been going to for decades. And then there's always up-and-comers that'll, catch us on Facebook or, whatever. And I'll go see them. But I'm looking at the dogs that I'm able to look at. And even before I go, sometimes vendors and people are sending me videos. Hey, what do you think about this dog? This is the age.
Okay.
He's got a chipped left tooth, whatever. And I got to make hey, don't even worry about buying him to show to me, because I probably won't buy him. Or, hey, definitely I'd like to take a look at that dog. And that dog will be there when
that's on a video that you're looking at, or
they'll send me pictures, videos, or just a little description. And it's not every dog, it's just a few.
Yeah.
Because the vendors over there, they're going all over the place. They have connections, they have relationships, and they're trying to collect dogs for me to look at when I get there, and other people that go there too. But I'm able to see the dogs that are available. And if there's at one place 8 German Shepherds, 3 Malinois, whatever, Rottweiler, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm going to test them. And if it's a good dog, it's a good dog.
Mm-hmm.
We have had some agencies that go, only want Belgian Malinois, 55 pounds, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And, during COVID, agencies couldn't come to see us. So I was getting a trailer and I'm driving out to different agencies, like all over the place, different states. And there was one agency out in Texas that goes, hey, only Malinois. I go, what? There's a Dutch Shepherd here. Nice dog.
It's close.
Very close.
Right.
And they go, we don't do Dutch Shepherds because we've had one. It didn't work out good. And I was like, well, that's one. This is breed racism right now.
How do you date? Like, if you never another blonde, right?
Yeah. No redheads.
Never. I can see that one.
Yeah. And it's I ended up bringing the Dutch Shepherd along with some Malinois, and they ended up taking it, because it was a good dog.
You knew.
Yeah. Up north, Oregon, Washington, Canada.
German Shepherd.
There's a lot. They love them, some German Shepherds, because that's the only dog they could ever track.
Right.
You can't track with any other type of breed.
Never.
But there are agencies that like Malinois up there, but certain agencies go strictly 80s Joel.
Got it.
But at the end of the trip, I have how many ever dogs plus.
You get extras.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just always works. Some trips, I don't even meet the number.
Come up short.
Yeah, you come up short. And it's not a good feeling when you're going to have 18 agencies showing up on Friday to look, for dogs, and you bought 14 dogs,
Right.
But I'm not going to go ahead and be like, hey, I'll take that one, just to meet my numbers. That never works out good.
So if you like to bring 4, 5, 10 extra dogs?
No, not 10.
Okay, 5?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5.
And sometimes I'm out and then I go, I cannot pass up this dog.
Mm-hmm.
Something in me says, this is just a nice dog, and I'm going to buy him. And you end up going over. They're not free.
No,
you're paying
premium.
and then the shipping, and then you're hoping that the dog performs well when it gets to California. And we shoot ourselves in the foot because most of the time when I return, I have a shipment of dogs with me. It's Wednesday or Thursday, and Friday we're showing the dogs.
That's hard on the dogs, right?
It's very hard on the dog.
Yeah.
And then you have, all these agencies coming, strangers taking the dog out of the kennel. Yeah. They're doing their tests, and the dog is just, I don't know anyone here. Seems to be pretty warm here in California. I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
I got the jet lag. I don't know if jet lag affects dogs, but
yeah, I would think it would.
It might. Brand new food, maybe their stomach's not agreeing with them. And we're asking, and some agencies, when they're testing, they're asking them to perform as if they're already a police dog, And like, remember, we're going back to test the dog on what it already knows. Sometimes that goes out of the window with certain agencies. And I'm not going to dictate what an agency does when they're testing the dog.
But you're fair. I watched a couple of your employees there. I was impressed because they were like, I saw a young girl working there who took a dog away from a police officer. And I thought it was a very brave move. I applauded her for it. She goes, he's not being fair with that dog. And I admired that because I think it's in the best interest of the dog, the police. It's in everybody's best interest. Yeah. So you are very fair to your dogs.
Yeah. And Lauren Erickson.
Who's that?
That's probably the girl you saw.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Who she was. Yeah.
Yeah. Her dad's Jim Erickson, former Riverside County Sheriff, dog handler, sergeant, lieutenant. And at a very young age, she's been working dogs, strong dogs, and she continues to work dogs, street league, all that stuff. She knows what right looks like, and we got Ryan, Mike, Sierra. Their first interest is on those dogs that they're in charge of. Yeah. It's a great crew.
Yeah. Very good crew. I admire them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they love dogs, but testing days are always, it's a little stressful, and you want everyone to be happy, and
Sure.
most of the time everyone is, and there's always a little contention between agencies when, hey, we had that dog on reserve and we want to look at that dog when you're done looking at him, if you can get him. And sometimes the officers hide dogs in their car.
Oh, they do, really?
We sometimes,
oh, that's funny.
maybe had little fist fights out in the parking lot
Oh, that's funny.
over a dog, and that's
Right.
far and few between.
Sure,
maybe a while ago, but it's like, it's a good system.
Yeah.
How we do it. It's the best system, but it's not always
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Perfection's illusion,
Of course, and anything.
But after that buy day, a lot of those agencies are going to go to our basic handler class starting Monday.
It starts that next week.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we, when you get the dog, the best thing, if it's in limbo, if it's a little unsure about what's going on, hey, we need to start training.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best bonding thing. It's just, let's have fun.
Yep.
Do the whole class. Hopefully everything works out. And a lot of the times I'm heading back to Europe the last 3 days of the basic handler class.
Wow.
Right now they just graduated one on Friday. I got a week until I go again. Next week I'm going to head to Europe, but then it's just over and over and over again.
So how many times a year do you go to Europe?
6.
Oh, you're kidding. I thought it was like 3 times.
No,
that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And it's, most of the time, it's just, you go there and you're testing dogs and you're traveling, a little jet lag, whatever. It's not bad.
Well,
but then you have some trips where, it's just everything goes wrong.
Right.
Yeah. And it could be Dan Bill, formerly of Phoenix PD. He went with me on one, and that was probably the hardest trip.
What made it hard?
We got sick in Slovakia. This is in 2019. Pre-COVID. And we got the flu. And it started on our drive from Slovakia to Germany. Dan went down first, and he was hurting. And we ended up, we get to the Netherlands. Hey, we got to take care of Dan. They have universal health care.
Yeah.
Unless you're a visiting American.
Then you're kind of toast.
Yeah. The next day I got it. And it was one of those, you're not sleeping. Mm-hmm. You're in the bathroom most of the time, and you're in pain. Yeah. But every morning we're getting up, we're going to test dogs. Wow. And it was just, we just stomached through it, and we figured it out. But to this day, we still laugh about it. And then other trips are just
easy.
Yeah. I'll bring people with me, and want to go see a windmill.
Yeah. Right.
Go to a KMPV club.
Right.
Watch training.
Do you go to the clubs a lot?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Especially when I bring somebody with me.
Yeah.
It's
dog and pony show.
It's not just help me walk dogs, break dogs, and test dogs. It's professional development. This is where they're coming from. These are the guys that an agency is, hey, you're our senior handler. Mm-hmm. Go on a European dog buy trip, and learn.
That's awesome.
What these dogs are coming from or doing. And it's an education.
Yeah. And you kind of have this thing where you say, I know what I'm looking for. I've got certain departments I'm going to go for. And you said something really interesting too. The first time we met at Adlerhorst when I was with Stoops, you said the police dog for Riverside County is going to be a very different police dog than for LAPD than, say, Laguna Niguel. So that. You know what these departments need, what they require, what the needs are, what dog is going to fit best for them. And those are the dogs that you're going to look for. You're going to kind of know that's going to be the best dog for that guy or this department, right?
Yeah, and it's everyone has kind of an idea of what they're looking for, and they understand their community better than anyone. Mm-hmm. But no matter what, if the dog's going to, the smallest little tourist city in California or the busiest, potentially most dangerous city, there's always that, like we said, 3%, where it's 150% dangerous. For sure. So no matter what, it has to be a good dog.
Yeah.
some dogs might be doing more demos at elementary schools than others.
Yeah.
So it has to be a little more user friendly than other ones. This dog might go to a guy that's already worked 3 dogs, and he can handle, a more
tougher,
a tougher dog that's a little more set in its ways, and he can still make that dog safe for the public
and shine. Yeah.
And shine. So it's things you got to take in consideration, but at the end of the day, you're just looking for good dogs that you could bring back, and the agencies, you go, hey, I think you might like one of these 3 right here. You might like one of these 5. Sometimes I go, hey, you need to take this dog.
Right.
Like, sorry, do yourself a favor. I'll make it a short day for you.
Because I
think this is what you like. I think I know.
Yeah.
We start training, and it might blow up in my face.
Right. But you can back that up, right? You can get them and swap out another dog or whatever too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, for some reason, some way, it all works out most of the time.
Let me ask you a question. I know you do personal protection dogs too at Adlerhorst.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really specialized thing. I've done personal protection dogs, but I've never seen your side of this. So I'm really intrigued to talk to you about that. Like, what you're procuring the best dogs there are, period. So maybe a dog, it's not necessarily a washout from a police dog, right?
Right.
Maybe it's a dog that you tested as a police dog,
right?
But you're seeing something different when it gets here. Well, this dog would shine as a personal protection dog.
Right.
And then you can remove that dog and say, okay, we're going to give you this dog, and this dog is going to go into our personal protection dog program.
Yeah. And that happens. It happens a lot. But also, we'll have the private sector. They'll come to us and say, hey, we have a need for a protection dog.
Okay.
And we'll show them, whatever dogs, or we'll say, okay, we have a better idea of your situation, and we'll go to Europe and we'll look for dogs.
Okay.
And we'll put out the word to the vendors like, hey, this isn't a police dog, but it needs to be, a house dog, personal protection dog. Also companies, they may need a dog to protect their property while, it's closed business.
Okay. So you handle that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're still having to put as much thought into that as you are looking for a police dog. And it's, there's people that go, I like the idea of having a protection dog.
Right.
And there's people that go, I have a need for one.
Right.
If you like the idea of having a working dog, well, work is half the word. The work never stops. You have to be somewhat passionate about working dogs. Sometimes there's an officer or a deputy that come to Adlerhorst to be a dog handler, and they go, oh, well, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of sweating. Sometimes a little bit of blood, a lot of uncomfortable, bruises.
Right.
And this dog, is not really understanding my European accent of the new commands that I understand. And they go, not for me.
Fair.
When you get a personal protection dog, you kind of have to have the same mentality. Like, I need to work this dog. I need to give it time. I need to build that relationship. And we were talking upstairs, but everyone's seen Magnum PI with Zeus and Apollo, as Doberman Pinschers, Patrol,
Boom.
Yeah. And that's Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're not showing all the, Higgins working with Robert Cabral, 3 times a week,
Right.
getting those dogs to lock their hills. Yeah. So there has to be that pre-planning in the person's head to go, okay, this is what I think is pretty cool. It's a good capability. It's utilitarian. It'll protect my house, protect my family.
Yeah.
But they need to understand that with that comes the ability to want to learn and then also apply training and work with a trainer on those dogs.
Do you do that? Because I know a lot of, I hate to say it, there's a lot of people selling protection dogs who shouldn't be selling, but we talked about a couple of those people before. But if you're selling a dog, you've got such an infrastructure with trainers and facility and everything like that, how much training afterwards? I buy a dog from you. okay, I get my German Shepherd. This is a great dog for Robert. Loves other dogs. Loves women. Loves kids. He's going to be great. He's going to live with me. Do you come train with me? Do I go train with you? Do you kind of put
the way we do it? Just because most of the instructors at Adlerhorst were gainfully employed with the police dog side of the house, and when you call Adlerhorst, you're going to deal with Veronique, my wife, and
she's
she
tough. She's tough.
Oh yeah, she's strong. She got bit.
Oh, she did
last year by a dog. Yeah.
I just meant she had a strong personality. I didn't mean she's strong. She got bit.
Oh no, you should see our daughters. They're strong.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's good breeding.
Well, Dutch, yeah.
Dutch and German. Yeah. But she has a very good idea about what a good personal protection dog is, and she takes everything into consideration. She makes the phone calls over to Europe.
Okay.
She gets the videos. She's it.
Okay.
And she's there when they're showing the dog, and she's going to make sure that when someone gets a dog, that they do have someone available to train with a couple times a week to get that education. And she puts a lot of work into that. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really important piece to have somebody who's really on it. And I met her that one time at your place, really on the ball.
She's great.
I mean, I can say that about all the people I met there. They're just really.
And that's, it's not the Mike and Dave Reaver show at Adlerhorst at all.
Not at all. It's a team.
We got former dog handlers, current dog handlers from all over Southern Cal. Marty Leopard from Arizona DPS. He does all the monthly trainings up in Northern Central California.
Okay.
A legend, in the dog world. Talked about Dan Bill from Phoenix. He does stuff for us, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada. Rick Johnson, former Orange County Sheriff, handler and sergeant.
Wow.
He does the patrol class with me. When I'm start saying, hey, do this, because and he goes, Mike, let the police officer talk, it sets me straight.
Yeah.
The monthly training that we have, South Bay offsite at Adlerhorst. Mike Bolton does detection for everyone. Quinn Hanley, he does monthlies. He's a current handler, brilliant guy.
Wow.
Paul Western, he was a handler out in Pomona for a very long time. He does a lot of the monthlies. Mike McCarthy from Santa Ana.
It's a huge team.
It's a huge team. Yeah. Tom Brown, Pasadena. If I'm forgetting someone, which I shouldn't.
I hope not for all those.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you forget me?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. You forgot me.
Yeah.
There's going to be one.
Oh, I don't think so.
You're going to come back on and edit it in.
I know I have to call you.
And it was Tom Jones.
But I mean, it's those are the people that make Adlerhorst successful.
Legendary,
yeah. And the amount of passion they put into their work, and they care.
Yeah.
We have a lot of handlers that come, and they're our boss.
Yeah.
And we have to make it work for them. So it's a huge team effort, and but the personal protection dogs, it's
a big piece of what you do, right? I mean,
they become part of your family.
Yeah.
And
you got to make sure it's the right fit for the family.
It has to be the right fit, but the mindset of the future handlers, the owners, it needs to be there before they get the dog.
I like what you said, though. You said you like to screen them. You like to talk to them. Do they want one or do they need one? Because if they want one, it might just be a nice idea to get a nice German Shepherd pet. But if they really need one, they're going to need the right dog. And not every dog is a good personal protection dog.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you have very well trained dogs. They're here, they're existing, they're relaxed.
Yeah. Janet has a lot to do with that. She cracks the whip.
Yeah. we have all these little dogs running around our house, and I'm the worst house training dog trainer in the world. Like I almost walked in pee this morning.
That's funny.
Because they're just little, how do you
Right.
You want to correct that?
Yeah.
You love them. They're all on the couch. They're on our beds. We have like 3 dogs on our beds.
Well, so do we.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
But they're family members.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece to me is their family members first. Dogs, the sports and everything comes second. And Jan is really tougher about it, and I'm saying that in a nice way because she likes them lining up to wait for their food. I mean, me, they can be on it. Like, here's some food. That's when I expect complete perfect performance when I expect it. The rest of the time, just chill out. Never. So she's good for me for that. Like Veronique's good for you for that.
Right.
But that's a tough thing for me because it's like, okay, now we're going to do obedience. We're going to do perfect healing. Blah, blah, blah. But the rest of the time is like, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like the contractor, is working on everyone's house.
Right. Your house, your plumbing sucks, right?
Horrible. Yeah.
I want to slip one thing in this chat, and I want to tell you something. You can come back anytime you want because this is a great chat. I'm having a great time. AB 742 is a bill that's in front of the California. It's going to be proposed. It's this guy Jackson, Corey Jackson is proposing it to the Assembly, and I think it's a disaster. Right? And I think it's a disaster because I'm very pro police. I'm very open about that. I'm an animal person. I love dogs. I had Gooseby here, and he's a mutual friend of ours.
Love him.
And we love him. Great guy. And I think he really, really loves dogs.
Yeah.
And he's really good at what he does. So he really pierced a lot of holes in it from a lot of angles. One was the BS of racism, which I don't want to talk about with you because we're two white, guys who shouldn't be talking about that. Well, we can, but it's not the main topic. What I want to talk to you about is the idea of the safety of these dogs and how many different departments you've worked with, how many hundreds or thousands of dogs you've placed through your years, and the benefit that has been to society, right? Has been to underserved communities, minority communities, regular communities, affluent communities, every community, how everyone has benefited. Just give me a little rundown on why police dogs are such an asset to our communities and to our people.
Yeah, I think police dogs in this modern day, they're being used for very, very dangerous situations. When a department deems a situation to be pretty dangerous, that's when they're applying their police dogs. That's when they're using their police dogs. They all have deployment policies. Every different agency has a deployment policy, and there are blocks they have to check before a canine's used. There's announcements that the handler, the helicopter, the PA on the vehicles, they have to be put out before a dog is used. That means things have gotten pretty sketchy. They assume the suspect is dangerous, could be armed, all right? They're using that dog to look for him primarily. That's what the dog's used, is to find things in people, all right? And there's a whole thing about, man hours saved. A dog makes those hours a lot shorter. I was talking to a handler last week in his city on patrol. This is a busy city. There's probably about 8 sworn officers on a shift. Something pops off and they need to go ahead and they need to go look for someone. It may take more than just 2 officers to go ahead and cover all that ground. So you might have an entire shift addressing one situation within this giant city. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of other things happening too.
Right.
Well, they have to kind of wait.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't get the service of the police department because right now they're committed to this, right? They're looking for someone. They're jumping backyard fences looking for someone. So all this stuff that is going on over here, prepare to defend yourself. A dog makes that a lot easier. All right. Gooseby talked about it. If you're hiding from the cops, all right, you did something bad. You're hiding. All right, I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna hide underneath something. they're going to have to come look for me. Oh, they're making announcements. Hey, come out. We're looking for you. We want to talk to you. Whatever.
Right.
Well, when they're looking for you, and I'm dangerous, I know I'm dangerous. They're not looking for you, just with their flashlights. They probably have their guns out, and there's 3 officers, young officers, looking for you, and they got their guns out. It's a stressful situation. They're concerned about their safety. When they find me, all right, it's going to be that gun barrel that's going to be pointed at me first. All right. I definitely don't want to surprise them. I don't want to shock them. Me, I think hey, you guys are looking for me. Hey, I'm coming out.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody with guns pointing everywhere.
I'm over here.
It's a different hide and seek.
Yeah.
A dog, hey, there's announcements. We're going to send a dog to come look for you. You might be bit. Come on out. I'm coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
Here I come.
Yeah.
All right. But in the event I don't come out, I'd rather be bitten by a dog
any day
than potentially
shot,
surprise someone and get shot. And that's what a dog does. It provides safety for that suspect.
I want to bring up something. Somebody asked a question on the video of Gooseby, and I don't know if he answered it yet, but I want to address this. And I think you know the answer to this one. But if a dog is being sent out, and the question was, well, what if the dog is being sent out and the person runs in a crowd and, da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, what preventions are there when I'm going to send a police dog out and this guy is, runs out and runs into the mall?
Yeah.
And I'm sending my police dog.
You could call the dog back. And people have been saying this over the last couple of weeks, like it's the only use of force that you could say, hey, no, come back. You can't tell a taser prongs to, hey, U-turn, lethal force, bullets. Yeah, you can't call them back. But yeah, a dog, hey, come on back here. All right. Yeah. And that's.
And also, isn't there another situation? Like, let's say there is somebody dangerous out there. Let's say they grab somebody else, right? So somebody grabs our wife. Not like we have the same wives, but my wife, and they've got my wife, and now we need to get that person because whatever. A dog is, I would think, much safer to send in that situation than to try to shoot the guy or taser the guy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, and that's what people need to understand is, I look at that scenario that you presented to me, and if I was a responding officer, it's like, oh, this is a thinking game now.
Chess.
Yeah, and that's what these officers have to do every time they're presented with a situation like that. And when we think about a police dog deployment or a lethal force application, we're thinking of scenarios. All right. They train these scenarios during their training. But you just presented me with something and it threw me a zinger. I don't know. They can't afford to go, I don't know. They have to do something.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talked to Michael about, was that the Sully when he landed the plane in the Hudson River, right? Like, you can plan for it, and if you have it planned for it, you can react much faster and much better than he did.
Right.
But the fact that you have to make that decision on that mode, like, okay, Mike, what do you do? This is the situation. What do you do? Well, if I send the dog, the woman could get bit, but if I don't, he could knife the woman, and that's, police officer's job is a really hard job. Like, I would not want to do it.
Yeah.
And, the dog can maybe help in that situation, at least to have the ability to make that decision, which they're not getting if they take police dogs away.
Yeah.
And it's going to help. It's going to hurt a lot of people.
One statistic that they're not looking at, and that's what we've been looking at, is statistics on, people that went to the hospital because of a taser or a baton or a dog bite. One thing that's not on there is how many arrests have been made or how many interactions with a suspect have been made just because the dog was there. Hey, come on out. We're going to send the dog. Or, hey, take your hands out of your pocket. Come over here, turn around. We're going to send the dog. Okay. That happens all the time. Talked to one handler the other day. How many times have you brought your dog out, made announcements, and you got to give up. It's like 60, 65, 68 times.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you actually, has your dog apprehended someone? Bit them.
Mm-hmm.
Twice.
Yeah.
That's the statistic that no one's looking at.
Yeah.
They do a felony car stop, I need you guys to come out of the vehicle. No, they're not coming out. Then all of a sudden his dog that's in the K9 unit starts barking, whatever. Saw a cat,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah.
Right.
All of a sudden hands come out of the window.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want us to do now, sir?
Yeah.
All right. In the last couple of years, to me, the authority of law enforcement has diminished.
I agree.
Defund the police. Mm-hmm.
That's biting everybody in the ass, though.
Yeah, let's revamp. The way people talk to police officers. You see those videos.
Yeah.
I would never.
No, I would never.
As a young,
yeah,
dumbass Mike Reaver when he was in high school.
Right, never.
Here comes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Everything changed back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they've taken a lot of authority from law enforcement, it appears. And a lot of times when that police dog's there, authority comes back. I think people look and they go, oh, the dog is here. Time to stop messing around. They appear to be pretty serious. Let me act like a citizen of this country again.
Yeah.
It was talking about using police dogs during demonstrations. Like,
yeah, that's nonsense.
Didn't see any of it, But when you're watching stores getting breaking into, burnt down, people's businesses, Long Beach, wherever.
People get hurt.
People get hurt, and I was seeing on the news the other day, someone, after hours, a coffee shop got broken into, and they stole a couple coffee machines. And people go, victimless crime.
Not really.
Well, no, yeah, that small business is not making coffee. They have to pay the lease.
Yep.
Pay their employee. They're not, they're not doing anything. And yeah, that doesn't warrant a dog bite. Not at all. But the criminality is getting more and more brazen, it appears.
Brazen.
And they're trying to disarm police officers when it seems like there's people doing more brazen acts, crimes than ever before.
Yeah.
And taking these dogs away, you're taking some authority away from law enforcement. Handlers I know thousands. They're good people.
I agree.
They have their jobs. They're professionals. They have their job that they do. What is it? Some agencies are working 3 days, 3 10s.
Yeah.
3 12s, 4 10s.
Yeah.
That's a schedule.
I wouldn't do it.
They have their kids' baseball game they have to go to. They have the dinner date with the other family. They have to go to the grocery store. They have to pick the kids up at school. They got to go to the gym.
Well, they got to come home from work.
They got to come home from work alive, and they have lives just like the rest of us do. But then they have this job, and they wake up in the morning and go, I might get punched in the nose today, or shot.
Yeah.
It's a very, very dangerous job. And the handlers don't go to work going, wow, I hope something pops off today.
Right.
Hope something goes down today so I get to use my dog. It was rough last week and I need me a dog bite. No, not at all. If they could go through a whole year and it's relatively peaceful, awesome.
Yeah.
Flip side is that a good dog handler, he knows the capabilities it has. He trains, right? He goes to work knowing that he's putting in the hours for that dog to do its job. They're getting out of the car. They're reading the wind direction, all right? They're playing scenarios in their head. What would I do in this situation? What would my dog do? What should I tell my dog? Would I recall him at this point? Can I send my dog at this angle over here? All right. And they're probably applying that to their weekly and monthly trainings. Like they're always prepared. And if it goes down, they're ready to use it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to shy away from it, but they're ready to do it. And there's a difference between people that just want to go out and bite people and people that are ready to do their job.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone that's going, I hope today I get to bite somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some trumped up charges and bite someone.
Yeah. Or
they
shoot
don't want to do
somebody,
that.
whatever.
Or,
nobody wants to do that.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
When I was working with the Army, they do several month deployments a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they train all year for that deployment.
Right.
And they want to apply their skills. They want to do the job. The police officers, they're doing it every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And then they want peace.
Yeah. Well, that's
throughout that year.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to have to continue to do.
Yeah.
And I feel for them.
I do too. I mean, taking another tool away, we don't want to send them on domestic violence. I have a friend of mine who was a cop for many years in New York, and he said, well, you don't want to send a cop on a domestic violence charge because you want them to be able to talk to de-escalate or whatever. But one of the number one cases where police officers or the person trying to negotiate gets hurt is on a domestic violence charge. You're going to try to take this away. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a psychiatrist going into a domestic violence charge. That's like horrible.
Riverside County Sheriff had a deputy shot and killed.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's, you have to determine that in my opinion, police officers are doing the best thing they can. To stoke the flames of racism. I mean, again, I'm talking as a white guy. I've got a lot of friends of color, transgender, gay, everything. I don't look at quotas like I have to have so many friends of this or that. And Michael and I talked about it, immensely. I just think that we're taking another tool away from the police department. You guys are doing an amazing job procuring dogs, training dogs, continuing education with dogs, that these dogs are not the dogs that you see in the like the Salma protests and stuff like that, where dogs are doing disgusting things to people. These are dogs that are trained. They're not used in crowd control. They're not used in anything like this. They're used for a purpose to protect, the suspect, so that it'd be easier just to shoot them. But it's not what's happening. They're trying and trying and trying. And like you said, they have all these steps they go before the dog is ever deployed. So, I hope that people will see this and see that no matter where you are in the world, I think a lot of stuff is going against stronger dogs, whether it's this whole idea of force-free training. I believe in positive training. I give cookies and toys all the time. But when you're going to take that away, you're going to try to eliminate the bite sports like they're trying to do in Europe. And then you're trying to take the police department's dogs away here. Next, it's going to be the military working dogs, and I think the world is going to be, when only the criminals have guns, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I think a lot of this is heading.
Well, it's when you look at European police agencies, and it seems like a lot of people, they look at Europe, at least in California, and this is the best state in the country.
For sure.
It's got great weather.
Yep.
Beaches, mountains.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
For sure.
But they tend to look at the European model, on all sorts of things. But as someone that goes there all the time, I get pulled over a lot. I have Slovakian plates and I'm driving through Western Europe.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I get their attention. I get my American passport. They're like, great. But all right, go ahead and step out of your van. We're going to look in your van. No Fourth Amendment right.
Right. No.
In Europe. And
No.
that happened when we had some officers with us, and it was in Germany. And they looked and they go, oh, cool, dogs, well, have a nice day. And they left. And as they're walking away, one of the officers that's with me goes, hey, why'd you pull us over? And the guy just kind of over his shoulders, because I wanted to.
Right.
When you look at use of force policies, as far as dogs go, in those countries, at least in the Netherlands, during COVID, they had demonstrations, and there was one particular one in Den Haag. It was a big park, and they go, okay, your permit's up for the demonstration, time to go home. And no one's smashing windows, burning stuff.
Yeah.
They're just slow to leave.
Yeah.
And they're, chanting as they're
right.
a little too slow for that agency to prefer. And here come the water cannons, the horses, and the dogs, and the batons. And they're applying all at once. And they're smacking someone, biting them.
And spraying them.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Like, everyone would lose their jobs.
Right,
in the States.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
In America, we have the checks and balances. There's so much more restraint here than the rest of the world.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's when you talk to a European dog handler, you talk about Fourth Amendment rights and case law.
They don't get it.
Yeah. And you arrest the people after you bite them. They just don't go. At the end of a soccer game, when everyone gets crazy, you just bite them and hey, you learned your lesson.
That's it.
Yeah, go home.
Right.
Yeah.
Get that stitched up.
Yeah. And it's different over there. But it's people aren't understanding, I don't think, the positions that officers are put into. It's not Hollywood. These dogs, and you look at video games that have attack dogs in them. They're.
I don't even know those exist.
Oh yeah. Call of Duty has dogs in it.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
okay,
you press a little button and your dog comes out and is chasing
I didn't even know
other
that.
people.
Okay.
And bites them. Boom, person's dead.
Oh, right away.
Like they're killing dogs.
Yeah. Crazy.
Far from the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's not a good light.
Yeah.
For those dogs, but a dog bite is generally nothing to write home about.
Right.
When somebody has a serious injury, they're trying to fight the dog.
Yeah.
They're doing everything they're not supposed to. They're still resisting arrest by fighting this dog.
Sure.
Most dog bites are no big deal. They some of the things that were mentioned in that assembly bill where they were talking about maiming and disemboweling.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Taking testicles off. I know 2 cases of people getting bit in the testicle. I was one of them. That was my first dog bite ever. Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad's showing a dog to someone, and I got the sleeve on.
Yeah.
And we have the freeway next to Adlerhorst, and heard brakes or something like that. But he's talking as this dog's doing a little Stellen Verbellen, right there. And
went under the sleeve.
I look away, and he slaps me on the shoulder as if he's going to run away, and I moved the sleeve, and then I react, and the dog got right on, probably like that, but right on the testicle, and let go, and I dropped the sleeve and I ran. I was like 15, and like
didn't impede you the rest of your life, did it?
At that point, I'm like, it hasn't happened yet, but it won't happen ever, And there was an officer there, like, Mike, I need to take a look, and there was like a little puncture right in the old boys, and iodine, and you'll be fine, I think. But
it had to be a guy, right? Officer.
Yeah. I'm not going to show. My sister was there, but but it healed or got better, or everyone's praying that it does. And then I remember I was in high school, I had health class and reproductive education.
Yeah.
I go, hey, I got a story for you, Teach. I'm about to make it a lot more interesting right now.
This might be the only one like this you'll ever hear.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, it's the claims made in that assembly bill.
Yeah.
A lot of it is
bunk.
Fault. Yeah. Bull.
Yeah.
But
I think, again, like I said to Gooseby, you bring something like this up, you make a name for yourself. People have never heard of you before, and if it's easy to stoke flames. It's easy to make people really angry about stuff that is not currently an issue. And I think this issue with the dogs is just it's something to bring something out. And
everybody wants their struggle.
Of course.
If you're a soldier, you want your war.
Of course, yeah.
You're a firefighter.
Yeah.
You want
your fire.
And if you're in, the civil rights activists, you want your struggle. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to have that Martin Luther King moment.
Sure.
You know,
And God bless them. I mean, I think it's great. But,
it's changed a lot of things.
But don't lie.
Don't lie.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't look that hard and make things up about a certain, you know,
and I think
capability.
that's my issue with this whole thing. Is like, I don't care. There are a lot of things to address. There's a lot of, you know, things that are unfair. Police dogs, that's not one of them. But it's an easy thing to say. Oh, you know, because it's such a small thing. And then, you know, oftentimes people who scream the loudest, like, you know, I see it in the force free people. They're all yelling and people are abusing dogs and this and that. And that's an easy thing. Like, you know, Europe started doing things like taking the e-collars away on police departments, taking the e-collars away, you know, in general.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, I think it just becomes one issue, one Facebook moment on top of another Facebook moment that I can, you know, get more shares for, more likes for, more, you know, hits and whatever. And I think we got to fight back. I think we got to fight back for the good of the country.
We live in a peaceful society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people are living in, you know, there's laws,
Mm-hmm.
there's process, you know, you go to Western Europe, North America. I've been to a lot of places, and the rest of the world, it's not the same.
No.
It's reality. I went on a deployment to Iraq when I was younger in the Army, and I remember looking around going, this seems pretty real. Everything is real right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it was a sense of danger, or you could see desperation. There was no law and order. There was no, and I go, everything else seems like it's the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like reality. And in Western Europe and in America, there's pockets of reality.
For sure.
And who's dealing with that? It's the people that live there.
Yeah.
Those citizens, they have to deal with that.
Every day.
And it's the officers, the police officers, the first responders
Mm-hmm.
that have to deal with that. And we're in a nice neighborhood, but reality can happen right now.
Sure.
And who's going to deal with that?
Yeah.
Who's going to have to make those hard calls?
It's true.
You know, it's the people,
Who
law
are there.
enforcement.
Yeah.
You know, and they deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and to take away their ability to deal with those situations that are so fluid,
Yeah.
that are so different from time to time,
Yeah.
people are going to get hurt.
Well, again, like going back to what Gooseby and I were talking about, it's like, okay, this neighborhood is relatively safe. But when you live in a neighborhood that every night you're hearing gunshots, like those kids want to go to school. And I talk to my friends who live in those neighborhoods. They want their kids to be safe. They want stop and frisk because they want to make sure their kid's not getting shot by the kid who's got the gun. You know, and they want the policeman there. They want the police dog there to stop the criminals because even, you know, if you look at a very high crime ridden area, 99% of the people in that neighborhood are really good, hardworking, honest people who are there because that's all they can afford.
Yeah.
And by not giving them protection of police and police dogs, you're oppressing these people more and more and more. The only chance they have is to be able to go to work, to go to school, to make a better life for themselves, to get out of that, or to make that neighborhood better and safer by getting rid of the crime, by leaving the crime there, and by doing it the way it is. I think that's racist.
Corey Jackson, one of his districts is Moreno Valley, California.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I
looked
at
it up.
The 60th.
The 60th district.
And it goes to Hemet and parts of Paris or Paris.
Mm-hmm.
But Moreno Valley, you know, Riverside County Sheriff, they patrol that area, and it could be busy. There's a lot of things going on in that city. And I wonder if, you know, Assemblyman Jackson has gone to those cities, did a ride along, you know, because like, hey, let's take away, we got someone that could be in these backyards over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we won't use the dog.
You go look.
Here's your taser. Here's your baton.
Right. Just
go get him, sport.
Yeah.
I'll hold the flashlight for you.
Yeah. It's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen for any person that is tasked or charged with that responsibility to go to find a dangerous person. Moreno Valley, Riverside County, one of my favorite stories. Jason, I don't want to say his last name. He's still in the department.
Okay.
But he had I think it was a longer hair German Shepherd, but it's one of my favorite stories. They respond to this call. There's a lady And she goes, hey, my husband has been making threats. He wants to kill me. And, you know, I kicked him out of the house, a restraining order, something to that effect. But I think he's in the house right now. I just got home and I think he's in the house. So deputies show up. They enter the house. Flashlights, look around. Hey, is anybody in here? Check all over the place. He's not there, ma'am. He's not here. Well, Jason shows up and he's got his dog. Man, I can't remember the dog's name. But he goes, let me run my dog through here. Ma'am, can I run my dog through your house? Yeah, go ahead. Boom, sends the dog. Dog searching. Boom, beeline straight for the couch. Jumps right in that sucker. Couch deflates. He's found the husband. Pulls him right out.
Wow.
Later on, they found it inside the garage, but he had gutted the couch of its frame, put it all in the garage, climbed in there, was balancing the cushions, and he had a ball peen hammer, and he's waiting for old girl to come home, close the door behind her, and
kill her.
His intent was to kill her with the hammer.
Wow.
Dog found him, you know?
Yeah. And that's in
the district.
Yeah, that's in the district.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
and the police officers didn't find the guy.
No.
Because I mean, obviously as humans, we're looking with our eyes.
Yeah.
You can't search every wall crack and every cushion in a couch, but a dog with a nose, that's an easy find.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's stories like that happening all the time.
Yeah.
That a dog was able to use its nose, find someone that is a huge potential danger for that community.
Yeah.
And now he's in bar, he's in jail where we need him,
Yeah.
No, it's amazing what they do with those dogs.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you do. I mean, I love Adlerhorst. When I was there the one time, it's a great place.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I want to come back and
anytime.
I will come back. I want to come for your training days and check them out.
Yeah. No, open invitation. Anytime you want to come out, by all means.
All right, cool. I'm going to take you up on that. You come back anytime.
Thank you.
You're close enough. Stoops has been trying to get you to come on here forever.
Yeah.
You've kind of neglected for a long time.
I've listened to the K9 podcast, a lot when I'm driving around in Europe, and I was kind of put off by some of them. I don't know. There's just a lot of ego.
Oh yeah.
A lot of bravado.
Yeah.
And it's.
But not here.
No, and that Steve. Hey, listen to Roberts. I've listened to some of them.
Yeah.
No, and it's a conversation.
Yeah, it's just two people who love dogs.
Right.
That's what I think about this conversation's about. It's loving dogs and just talking about it.
Just some of the other ones, there was just too much macho.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
No. And it's, it's not what it is.
Well, come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right.